much of your day is spent thinking about others? What they said, what they didn't say, how they see you, what they might think, whether you've disappointed them, whether you've impressed them, whether you're ahead or behind in the invisible race. You wake up already comparing. You fall asleep, still overthinking. And somewhere in between, you forget the one person you were meant to care for most to yourself. If this sounds like you, then stay with me to the end of this video, because we're going to uncover 6 powerful Buddhist lessons that will teach you how to stop obsessing over others and come home to yourself. This isn't about selfishness, it's about sanity. If you've been pulled in 100 directions and want to feel whole again, leave a comment below, "I return to myself." That is where your true power begins. It's natural to care. You're human. You were wired for connection. But somewhere along the way, the need to connect became the need to be approved, the need to be seen, the need to constantly monitor how you're doing through the eyes of others. That's where suffering begins. Not in relationship, but in losing yourself inside it. Buddhist wisdom starts by reminding us that all suffering has a cause. And one of the most subtle and dangerous causes is the attachment to identity, especially the identity others create for you. The way they label you, the way they define your worth, the way you adjust who you are to meet their expectations. But the truth is, you are not who others think you are. You are not even who you think you are. You are what remains when thoughts fall silent. You are the awareness underneath the masks. And returning to that awareness is the first step toward real peace. The first lesson is what others think of you is none of your business. It feels important. It feels urgent. But it isn't real. People don't see you as you are. They see you through the filter of their own experience, their mood, their trauma, their desires, their insecurities. And if you let that define your self-worth, you'll be chasing a moving target forever. Thich Nhat Hanh reminds us, when another person makes you suffer, it is because he suffers deeply within himself. The way others judge you says more about them than it does about you. So instead of reacting to their perception, return to your intention. Did you act from integrity? Did you speak your truth? Then rest in that. Let their noise stay with them. Stay with. The second lesson is stop comparing. The Buddha taught that craving and aversion are the roots of suffering, and comparison is a blend of both. You crave what others have. You feel aversion toward your own path. But comparison distorts reality. It shows you the highlight reel of someone else's life and asks you to feel bad about your behind the scenes. You never see the full story. You don't know what someone sacrificed to get where they are. You don't know what they carry behind closed doors. What you do know, what you can control, is your own journey, your own growth, your own presence. And when you stop looking sideways, you begin to move forward. Not faster, but truer. And that's what matters. The third lesson is, your value is not measured by productivity. We live in a world that teaches us to earn rest, to hustle for worth, to measure a good day by how much you got done. But Buddhism teaches something radically different. It teaches being overdoing, presence over performance, mindfulness over multitasking. You are not a machine, you are a soul. And focusing on yourself means honoring your limits, taking rest seriously, letting go of the internalized pressure to always be achieving. You don't have to do more to deserve peace. You already deserve it, simply because you exist. This shift from doing to being restores your nervous system. It helps you reconnect with your breath, your body, your actual life. The fourth lesson is, you cannot control how you are received. You can be kind and still be misunderstood. You can be honest and still be rejected. You can be loving and still be left behind. And none of that is a reflection of your failure. It is a reflection of the fact that humans are complex, that connection is not always mutual, that even your best effort won't always land. And that's okay. Buddhist teachings help you release the outcome. You speak with intention, not to manipulate. You act from clarity, not to earn affection. And when you're met with resistance, you don't collapse. You stay grounded. You let people go if they must. Not in bitterness, but in understanding that not everyone is meant to walk with you forever. Some are chapters, not endings. The fifth lesson is inner peace is your responsibility. It's easy to blame others for how you feel. They triggered me, they stressed me out, they made me anxious. But in Buddhism, the mind is your domain. Others can influence it, but only you can rule it. And to rule it, you must learn to observe it. Meditation teaches you to step back, to notice your thoughts without believing everyone, to name the emotions that arise, to sit with discomfort rather than outsourcing blame. This is not denial. This is ownership. It says, I may not choose what happens, but I choose how I meet it. And that choice is what makes you powerful, not reactive, but responsive, not controlled by the world, but free within it. The sixth lesson is your energy is sacred. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Not every invitation is a responsibility. Not every opinion is worthy of your attention. When you focus on yourself, you begin to discern. You stop over-explaining. You stop over-giving. You realize that self-care is not selfish. It is spiritual hygiene. It allows you to show up from fullness rather than depletion, from alignment rather than guilt. You stop trying to please everyone and start honoring your truth. And in doing so, you become more available for real connection that doesn't drain but nourishes, that doesn't demand but flows. These 6 lessons aren't just philosophical ideas. They are anchors. And you'll need to return to them every day because the world will keep pulling you outward. It will feed your need to compare, to prove, to impress. And when that happens, you'll feel it in the anxiety in your chest, in the restlessness in your mind, in the way you lose touch with yourself. That is your signal, your call to return. Return to the breath. Return to your body. Return to your why. Because underneath all the noise, all the expectations, all the roles you play, there is a quiet place in you that knows, that already is enough, that already is whole, that already knows what to do, not for applause, but for peace. When you stop thinking about others, you don't stop loving them. You stop needing their approval to love yourself. You stop depending on their reaction to feel okay. You stop letting their stories become the lens through which you see your life. You begin to choose yourself, gently, fiercely, daily. You wake up and ask, how can I take care of my mind today? Not because no one else matters, but because you finally understand that your peace is your offering, that your clarity is your gift, that the more rooted you are, the more freely you can love. You are allowed to focus on yourself. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to take space. You are allowed to let people misunderstand you while you stay soft, grounded, true. The Buddha never told us to reject others. He taught us to first awaken within. Because when the mind is still, the world makes sense. When the heart is full, love flows effortlessly. When your soul is anchored, you no longer chase what can never complete you. So return, not just once, every day, every hour, every breath if needed. And in that return, you'll find what you've been searching for in everyone else. A home, a peace. A truth that doesn't need approval to shine. The decision to focus on yourself doesn't mean you stop caring about others. It means you stop abandoning yourself in the name of others. That's a very different thing. You can still be kind. You can still be generous. But now it comes from a deeper place, a place of alignment instead of anxiety, of overflow instead of depletion. That's the shift we're making here, from living outward to living inward, from pleasing to practicing presence. Each of the 6 Buddhist lessons you've heard isn't just something you learn once, It's something you live again and again. Life will keep giving you chances to forget. People will keep giving you opportunities to give your peace away. And each time you do, you'll feel it. That subtle drain, that tightening in your chest, that quiet, familiar ache that says, I've lost myself again. But you don't need to panic when that happens. You don't need to shame yourself. You simply pause, you breathe, and you return. Start with the first lesson. What others think of you is not your business. It's a reflection of their inner world, not your worth. Still, it's so easy to fall into the trap of approval. Someone frowns and you assume it's your fault. Someone praises you and suddenly you feel 10 feet tall. But Buddhist practice asks us to hold both with equanimity, praise and blame, gain and loss. They come and go like weather. Your job is not to chase sunshine or hide from storms. Your job is to sit like a mountain, still, aware, unmoved at the core. You can listen to feedback without absorbing identity. You can let opinions pass through your awareness like clouds. You are not the sky they float through. You are the space beyond. Then comes the second lesson: stop comparing. You scroll through someone else's life and your nervous system contracts. They seem so confident, so far ahead, so put together. But Buddhism teaches that we only suffer when we grasp what is not ours. Envy is a sign you've forgotten your path. So next time you catch yourself comparing, pause and whisper, "This is not mine to hold." Then turn inward. Ask, what needs my attention right now? Where have I stopped listening to myself? Jealousy is often a sign that you've been distracted from your own truth. Use it as a bell, not to ring alarm, but to call you home. The third lesson, your value is not measured by productivity, is hard to remember in a world that glorifies busy. But if you're constantly trying to prove your worth through effort, you'll never rest. And rest is where wisdom is born. When you meditate, you don't earn your seat, you arrive, and that's enough. The breath doesn't demand credentials before it enters your body. It simply flows. You, too, are allowed to flow. You don't need to be endlessly improving. You can just be. You can walk slowly. You can sit without guilt. You can eat your meal in silence and let it nourish not just your body but your whole being. Buddhist monks live by this rhythm. Not rushing, not forcing, simply moving with awareness, grounded in the truth that each moment is already complete. The fourth lesson is the one that will be tested. Most often you cannot control how you are received. You may speak with softness and be misunderstood. You may love with your whole being and still not be chosen. You may show up in good faith and be met with resistance. And that will hurt, but it doesn't have to define you. The teaching here is radical acceptance, not of mistreatment, but of reality. The moment you realize that your job is to offer truth, not to manage perception, you are free. Let others walk their path, you walk yours. And trust that what's meant to meet you will feel clear, not complicated, peaceful, not performative. You don't have to dance for acceptance, just breathe and be who you are. Then there's the fifth lesson: your inner peace is your responsibility. Not your partner's job, not your friends, not your parents, you, only you. And this is where your practice deepens. When someone triggers you, you don't immediately react, you pause, you notice. You ask, what is this showing me about me? Where is the story I've been telling? Maybe it's the story of not being good enough. Maybe it's the story of always being too much. The mind clings to stories. Meditation helps you loosen that grip. You learn to watch the waves of emotion rise and fall without jumping into the water. You are the witness now, calm, compassionate, clear. And from this space, you don't need to be in control, but you only need to be awake. Finally, the sixth lesson: your energy is sacred. This is not a poetic idea, it's a practical truth. your mind, your heart, your attention. These are resources. If you give them away freely, without discernment, you will run dry. Buddhism teaches the middle path, the balance between generosity and wisdom. Just because someone asks doesn't mean you must say yes. Just because someone is loud doesn't mean they're right. Silence is a choice. Boundaries are a practice. And when you begin to honor your energy, you realize something profound. You don't owe anyone an explanation for taking care of yourself. You don't have to shrink to be loved. You don't have to abandon your needs to feel needed. You can be whole and still be loved. You can be centered and still be compassionate. So how do you apply this every day? You start by listening, not to the noise of the world, but to the quiet voice beneath it. The one that says slow down, breathe, choose peace. You begin each morning not by checking messages, but by checking in with yourself. How am I feeling? What do I need? What part of me feels unseen? You set an intention, not for perfection, but for presence. Today, I will not abandon myself. Today, I will not chase approval. Today, I will live from my center. Throughout the day, you pause. You watch your mind. When it starts to spiral into what someone else thinks, pause. When it wants to perform, to prove, to please, pause. Come back to the breath, the body, the moment. Say quietly, this is enough. And in the evening, you return, you let go, you release the judgments, the shoulds, the noise. You offer yourself the grace you were never taught to give. You forgive your forgetting. You soften. You rest. Not as a reward, but as a right. This is not easy work, but it is sacred. Because every time you choose yourself, you break a chain. You undo a pattern. You rewrite a story. You become the kind of presence the world desperately needs. Not loud, but true. Not dominant, but deeply alive. You stop looking for mirrors in other people's eyes. You start becoming your own reflection. And from that place, everything changes. Not because the world becomes easier, but because you are no longer scattered within it. You are whole. You are present. You are home. So tomorrow, when you wake up, don't reach outward. Don't ask who you need to impress. Ask instead, how do I stay with myself today? And let that question be your compass. Let it guide your steps. Let it shape your choices. Let it protect your peace. Because you don't need to be understood by everyone. You need to be honest with yourself. You don't need to be liked by the masses. You need to be loved by the one who looks back at you in the mirror. And you don't need to be everything for everyone. You just need to remember who you already are beneath the noise. You are clarity. You are compassion. You are enough. Right here, right now, without needing to prove anything to anyone. And when you live from that truth quietly, consistently, courageously, peace is no longer something you seek. It's something you become